Good evening, or good afternoon. Well, I guess good evening if you're on the East Coast, and welcome to the Game Show. So glad you could be with us here today. Well, this is our final episode. I know, so sad, but that's okay. I don't know why. There's this new format to YouTube live streaming, at least if you're on your phone or something like that. So we were actually on the air about 45 seconds earlier than planned because I set up the stream. I scheduled it for 4 o'clock. Just remind everybody that hey, we're having a stream today, and instead of it just scheduling it for that like it normally would, it just automatically starts the countdown and then you're live. So then you're not going live when you want to be live. So yeah, YouTube, you screwed up the format for live streaming on mobile phones. I'm telling you that right now. But yeah, so we're gonna have to get a little bit better at that. And plus, the screen is shifted a little bit too, as well, off my phone. Like a third of my screen does not have any video on it, at least on my phone. Let's see, I'm looking at it now on the computer just to see how the picture looks. Okay, you guys have somewhat of a full picture. I'm trying to like move my hand and stuff so that. Okay, okay, so all right, so it's actually not as bad as I thought it was. Okay, good, 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 good. I am going to turn a light on because it is getting darker in here, and that's the thing that sucks about times like this. Ooh, there we go. I don't know if that's going to help any, but at least it doesn't look like I'm in a dark room. So, yeah. All right, today's topic for our finale. In fact, it's kind of a double topic. We're going to be talking about networks and blocks dedicated to game shows and the best game show moments so far, and then taking a look at game shows of the future, at least my thoughts on that. So we'll start off with one of the main topics, which is supposed to be, sorry, I'm just getting more comfortable here in my recliner. Networks and blocks dedicated to game shows. Now, the very first, I think, game show block really were like I think like the one that most everybody thinks of when you think of television blocks and stuff like that. Um, is the USA game show block of the late 80s and early 90s. That was like the first big game show block there was, especially like, in cable and stuff, when cable television was now starting to become more popular. So, yeah, there was that. But there was game show blocks happening on network TV even before the USA network block. Literally from like 10 in the morning Eastern time until like 1 p.m. Eastern, most networks aired either their full morning lineup or most of it, like 80% of their lineup, was game shows. So, yeah. And some even aired beyond that. Like NBC, for example, they aired game shows. Well, from those 3 hours in the morning, and even after that too, like until like 2 o'clock Eastern time, 2:30 ish, they were just aired game shows, and then they went to their soap operas. ABC, on the other hand, when they had their first game show block, with Let's Make a Deal, Dating Game, The Newlywed Game, Pyramid, stuff like that, they aired all those shows basically in the afternoon when everybody was airing um, their soap operas, and they were good alternatives, honestly. Just, flip flop the schedule. If you don't like game shows, turn over and watch soap operas. And if you don't like soap operas, turn over and watch game shows. So, Yeah, in fact, I looked it up here. I just went back to the 1970 71 television. In fact, no, 71 72 might be a better way to look at it here. Yeah, here we go. So NBC, okay, so because they aired Dinah's Place, which was a talk show at 10 a.m. So they aired basically from 10:30 to 1 p.m. Eastern time. They had game shows the entire way, and then from then they had a game show from 1:30 to 2 o'clock. So yeah, and ABC, yeah, they pretty much had an afternoon game show block against all the soap operas. Like Let's Make a Deal that aired at 1:30, that aired up against As the World Turns. 2:30 dating game that aired against The Guiding Light. Love is a many splendored thing that aired at 2 p.m. Up against the Newlywed Game and Days of Our Lives. So yeah, these were just game shows. They were alternatives to the regular soap operas, or some networks around this time were airing reruns, like CBS especially from 10 a.m. to 11:30 aired reruns of their primetime sitcoms. Beverly Hillbillies, The Lucy Show, Family Affair, My Three Sons. I guess ABC did the same thing, but they only did like a couple shows, like Bewitched at 11 a.m. Eastern time, or at noon Eastern time. They had Love American Style at 4 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, what can I say? Obviously, I wasn't living around this time, so I couldn't enjoy all these great shows, but yeah. So, pretty much network game show blocks have been going on really ever since the 60s and 70s, honestly. But I think that term became much more popular once USA, because USA had their whole game show block, because that lasted anywhere from like 2 to 5 hours. So, and that's, I think, what game show fans in their early to mid 30s, even early 40s, that's how they got their start in game shows, was the USA Network game show block. Because game shows around that time in the late 80s, early 90s, I think once 1985 hit, were pretty much, you could say there was about 20 game shows around 1985. By then, they kind of started getting really sparse, and by about 89, 1990, at the height of the USA block, I wouldn't say they weren't existent by then, but there was only about 7 or 8 instead of like 20, like there was in 1985, and even in the 70s every year. I think 1975 was a really great year for game shows. So yeah. And then once 1994 hit, well, I guess I shouldn't get to there just yet, but not only did you have the USA Network block of game shows, you also had original shows being produced. Like in 1990, we had Rodeo Drive and Supermarket Sweep back to back. That's not really a block necessarily, but you get a full hour of game shows on a. To be fair, though, game shows do cater towards women, that demographic, the housewives and stuff like that. However, though, um, so I guess putting on an hour's worth of game shows, especially one that's got something to do with like a shopping spree, and one that has something to do with a supermarket, that really did cater towards females, which is, like I said, understandable, because that's what the game show genre is all about. So yeah, and then Rodeo Drive got replaced with Shop Till You Drop, a shopping mall. So there you go. And that's the funny reason why Debt was canceled. Off topic here. Debt was canceled in the late 90s, even though it scored excellent ratings. I guess it was, well, one, it was ripping off Jeopardy, which, okay. But I think having a version of Jeopardy on cable television isn't, really gonna affect anybody. There's Jeopardy and cable. Well, I guess not currently, but once. Well, I guess I'll get to it here in a second, because I'll talk about it. I'm trying to go like in chronological order here, but yeah, that's that. Anyway, we'll get back to the regular show, our regular topic here. So yeah, and then by the time 1991 hit, any game show that wasn't named Family Feud, Wheel of Fortune, well, okay, I shouldn't say that. Any game show that wasn't Family Feud or The Price is Right was basically off the air in network TV. Well, our classic concentration reruns, which, I mean, if you're airing reruns and they're still getting good ratings, just produce a new show. Although I think the reason why they sent it into reruns was because they were working up a new format, an hour-long format for Classic Concentration, because there was like a test run that was filmed, and I believe it might be on YouTube still. I am not entirely sure about it, but it shows like the gameplay and how that would have worked. And I think it's an interesting watch, so go check it out. I mean, I felt the same way about that pitch film or slash run through as I did about The Price is Right in 1972 pitch film. Really interesting stuff. There needs to be a lot more of those videos out there. Like Wheel of Fortune, the Merv Griffin with no sound, him spinning the wheel and stuff like that. That was for Shopper's Bazaar, I think. But still, I mean, those videos I just find really interesting. So yeah, 1992, the Lifetime game show block, hour long, that was still going strong. I think USA's game show block at this point, it had started to fall maybe a little bit, but not too bad. That was still going strong. Yeah, 1992, let's see here. Okay, yeah, so we get to 1993. NBC tried to get back with Family Secrets, which that caused a whole lot of controversy, I'll tell you that much. Nothing really offensive. It just goes to show that you should always vet your contestants before they appear on game shows. And then categories, they rebooted Scrabble alongside Classic Concentration reruns, but I think by then, it was just too late. Plus, those game shows aired from 11 to 1. Well, when you have game shows being preempted at noon for local news, then there was that. And then that 11:30 a.m. Eastern time hour long, of course, was occupied with The Price is Right, so obviously that wasn't going to do very well, at least ratings wise. So yeah, it was just I mean, I get what NBC was trying to do, but it just wasn't going to work in the end. Oh well. It's the way it happens sometimes, I guess. So they actually moved Classic Concentration reruns at this time to noon, and then 12:30 they had Caesar's Challenge. So yeah, I bet you there weren't very many people watching Classic Concentration by then, but that's just me. Well, except at least on the East Coast. See, that's the thing. When you hear about game shows being canceled because they aired in the noon time slot and their ratings were really low, I think the reason for that is all the viewers, or a good portion of those viewers that those shows were getting at the time at the noon Eastern slot, they were all coming from the Central Time Zone, because it might be noon in the East, but it's still 11 a.m. in the Central. And I know most Pacific affiliates air it like Eastern time. So like if a program since the prime time block starts at 8 p.m. Eastern time, that's when mostly everybody in the Pacific time zone airs it. I don't know what Mountain does exactly. I've seen a couple of different things, but I think most of them just flip-flop. Well, they either flip-flop or, I don't know, they have their own way of doing it. So, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that would have worked, but yeah. But yeah, as we start to get into the late 90s, I mean, we can't forget about the Family Channel games. Well, the interactive shows by Wink Martindale. Let's not forget about that, because that was in 94, I want to say. 93 even, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, 1994. Shuffle, Boggle, Trivial Pursuit, and Jumble. Those were 3 in a row. Well, they had 3 on at once, and then once Shuffle got canceled, Boggle kind of... Well, no, excuse me, when Shuffle got canceled... No, hold on. I'm just looking at it here. Shuffle and Boggle and Trivial Pursuit. Yeah. And then once Boggle ended... Oh, no, Jumble replaced Shuffle. There we go. That's what happened. Yeah, Lifetime's highest rated quiz show, Debt, got canceled. So there you go. Oh, well, what can I say? What could I say about that? But they were all canceled, and then you had the Family Channel. They tried to start up another game show block in the... I want to I'm just trying to find all the shows that they aired just so that, I could get this right. Former programming. You had the 1995 block, which had Shop Till You Drop, Shopping Spree, Small Talk, and Wait Till You Have Kids. That was 1995 around here. Oh, was Family Channel? No, wait, no, it wasn't, sorry. So 95, 94, once those shows, that was kind of, 94, 95, and 96, that's when all those shows aired. So Channel tried to have a game show block, but it wasn't just, they tried doing it with like all original shows, and that wasn't going to work, unfortunately. It would have worked, but some of these shows were, some of them were. I think the only really good one you could say was Shop Till You Drop, and that was the one that lasted the longest. And Shopping Spree too. So yeah, and then Small Talk and Wait Till You Have Kids were canceled the same day. Their final episodes ended on the same day. So yeah. And then really late 90s was really quiet in terms of game shows. They had the Newlywed Game and Dating Game come back, which aired, in a lot of markets back to back. So yeah, it wasn't until, though, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire premiered, and then boom, game shows were back in the... And I'm leaving out the most important thing. Game Show Network launched in 1994, a 24-hour game show channel. You'd see game shows for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And live interactive programming too. I mean, obviously, though, of course, Game Show Network, they had their dark period between 1998 and 2000. And, well, looking at it now, it wasn't really that dark at all. I mean, you still had Wheel and Jeopardy. You had Family Feud. That was still airing, I think. Yeah, Family Feud. You had a lot of new programming, original programming too, like Inquisition that premiered during the dark period, which that lasted for 3 years, so that must have been some sort of a rating success. You had the all new Three's a Crowd with Alan Thicke, which at least I don't think they were very much exploitative at people than they were back during the 79-80 version of the show. But they also had several interactive programmings. Probably about 3 or 4 hours a day was just interactive programming, but instead of airing it all together, they aired it kind of separately throughout the day, 30 minutes to an hour at a time, every 2 or 3 hours. So yeah, they kind of spread it all apart, which I think is good. And then on the weekends, their schedule, really, their whole evening schedule was, I wouldn't say it was all screwed up, but it was a lot of blocks, like of black and white programming, mystery type Saturday night stuff. So, yeah, that was what their basically weekend programming was. And then once 2000 hit, I think that's when Game Show Network really did, because they got Family Feud, they got Match Game, they got Newlywed Game, they got basically all the programs they had when they first started were back on. So yeah, that was good. And then once 2002 and 03 hit, that's when, Game Show Network had those 6 original shows: Win Tuition, Lingo, Whammy, Cram, Friend or Foe, Russian Roulette. You got those 6 shows, 3 hours worth of programming every weeknight, and that is what game show fans remember of the network during the early 2000s, was because of that. Boy, somebody just yelled at Judge Judy. I stopped it so I can go back and rewatch it after we're done here. But yeah. And then NBC, I think they tried to do some sort of game show block in the mid 2000s because that was when Deal or No Deal started becoming popular. They had, let's see, what else did they have? They had Amnesia, 1 versus 100. And they basically tried rerunning that for like 2 hours and then end the night with Dateline or something like that. So NBC tried to do some sort of game show block then, but I guess it just didn't work. I mean, ratings, though, weren't bad, especially for Friday nights, because when 1 versus 100 first premiered, it started on Friday nights, and it was getting 12 million viewers. So, yeah, way better than the reboot of TGIF on ABC. But, Yeah, so it wasn't performing bad actually at all compared to, well, especially compared to today, considering most shows get probably a fourth of that nowadays, but on average, every single show, whether it's a Monday night or a Tuesday night or whatever, but, well, except for if you're like The Voice or any one of the, basically any show airing on CBS gets more than 3 million viewers. Like, all their sitcoms are above that, all their dramas, all their, let's see. I mean, except for like, well, even Survivor gets that. The Summit though was kind of a disappointment for CBS's standards though, because that got like that was in the higher 1.5 to 2 million region for a lot of some episodes. So yeah, that was maybe a disappointment there. But once Amazing Race comes back, then it'll get up into that big money range. So yeah. Alrighty, I was going to talk about the best game show moments, but if I were to talk about that, oh, I forgot to mention Buzzer. How can I forget about that? Although Buzzer, I think, is starting to take a little bit of a downhill turn because it's not airing stuff. Well, I mean, it is airing stuff like body language and stuff like that, but Double Dare with Alex Trebek, that's not airing. I think what the problem is that the schedule is basically the schedule is basically the same schedule 7 days a week. Like there's no really difference about it. Like at least Game Show Network, they're able to change up their schedule for the weekends and keep it, keep it the same 5 days a week, but change it for the weekends. But for whatever reason, I guess, and I don't know why, Buzzer just has the same shows there every single day. Well, yeah, well, I completely forgot what I was going to say now. Yeah, it keeps the same schedule every single day. There, we'll just say that. So, yeah. Alrighty, next topic: game shows of the future. I think there's pretty good chance we'll still have game shows in about 20, 30 years down the road, especially with how TV is changing just so drastically right now. I think there will still be game shows. I mean, there's still a game show community out there. I mean, it's just. So I think as long as people keep oohing and awing over game shows, like The Floor got excellent ratings earlier on in the year. It kind of took a downhill turn for season 2, but season 3 is going to premiere after the Super Bowl. I think you'll get a large audience. Well, you're going to get at least, I was going to say 20 million people, but the last 2 lead out programs that have aired, one on Fox and one on CBS, they both got less than 20 million. So I'm going to say around 18 million. But also last year, at last year's lead out program, you honest to God probably would have gotten at least 20 million had the game not gone a full extra period pretty much. So what can I say there? Obviously. So yeah, I think if the show gets about 18 million viewers, 18 to 20 million, I think, and it's going to air after The Masked Singer, obviously, and The Masked Singer, The Masked Singer's getting pretty much the same ratings of pretty much every Fox show now, I feel like. Well, maybe like a million or so less than that. I mean, it's still Fox's cash cow, but I think this season the average viewership was only about 3 million instead of most episodes got below 3 million, like 2.7 or 2.8 million. So it's starting to, like, it's not that it's starting to become, like, it's still the same show. It doesn't keep to a straight format every single year. Like, they always change it up. Like, there's always some sort of, like, we had The Good, The Bad, The Cuddly, which wasn't a bad idea in theory, but in fact, well, it didn't bother me none, but I think if you still kept the Group A, Group B, Group C format, but still, had those themes and stuff like that, then I think you'd still be getting about 4 to 5 million each episode. Well, and then I also saw a thing where the show gets like a 30% boost when it's on streaming and stuff like that. So that would make it close to that 4 to 5 million mark. But yeah, I think The Masked Singer, though, it's going to be on TV for quite a while now. So, because people love guessing things for whatever reason, which me too. So, yeah, but I think game shows, I think pretty much until the world ends, there's going to be a game show on TV. So, that's how I feel about game shows of the future. We're still going to be producing game shows here, really, for the near future. It's pretty much going to be sports and game shows here on my YouTube channel. So, that's pretty much what we do around here, at least. So, yeah, no scripted programming. I don't like scripted programming, so that's why I don't watch any comedies, dramas, or, yeah, sitcoms, comedies, dramas. It's all the same thing to me. Like, it's all scripted, which makes it to me less interesting, so, yeah, which is why I love game shows, reality competition, stuff like that. So, yeah, I think those will still be around as long as people keep watching them. So, yeah, that'll do it for us here. This is the final episode of the Game Show. But it's okay. It's okay. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you all next time. Bye bye.